exhausting so many of our desires through experience and getting to a place around 40, maybe 45, maybe 55 for some, maybe for some it was 25. But research around all the things that we do not need to feel fulfilled, satisfied, feel peace. And we're back with another reflection on the daily Vedantic. Came across this quote recently from Carl Jung. I studied this philosophy. He studied it daily, and many of his concepts come from this philosophy. The quote that I read that I had never come across before, I love. For 2 weeks, I've been reflecting on it over and over again, is life begins at 40 and the rest is just research. Life begins at 40. The rest is just research. What I love about this quote, it's kind of taken on, like any deep thought reflection concept, there's like a first layer to it and then a second layer as you reflect on it more and more. And that's why reflection is said within this philosophy to be 100,000 times more powerful than listening. Because you hear something once and you don't reflect on it, you probably get 1% of the depth, not only because you don't get to that second layer or that third layer, or that there's some concepts that have 4, 5, 6 layers to them as you think about them more and more. But within this quote, not only would I not get to the second layer if I didn't reflect on it, but more than that, I just wouldn't even remember it if I didn't reflect on it. We all know that feeling of just something blowing us away when we hear it for the first time. And then fast forward 2 days, you never reflect on it, and it's like it never happened. You're like, what did that friend say to me at lunch that completely stopped me in my track? What was that quote on Instagram that I liked? And I even sent it out to like 5 friends, but I never reflect on it, so I don't remember it. But this one was worthy of reflection, and the 2 layers. The first layers, kind of the more obvious of life begins at 40, the rest is just research. Wow, that's so much later than what the world tells us. I thought life is supposed to begin when you graduate college or when you go off to college. Aren't you supposed to start your career 22, 23, maybe 26? But if you don't have things figured out by 36, 37, you're way behind. And yet, this quote, so beautifully, such great relief, puts it back 20 years. No. It's totally fine if you don't have it all together, 38, 39, because life doesn't begin at 40. That is so meaningful in its own right. But the second layer that I've been thinking about the last week has been, what is that research tell us? What does that research reveal to where life can begin at 40? I think part of that research is finding what you're wired for, trialing and erring and finding out what you're genuinely wired for, finding out what generates energy within you, finding out what dissipates energy within you, trying on a few different hats. And I think that is a powerful part of this research. But another aspect, maybe a less obvious aspect of this research that I think I can say at 39 that I've started to scratch the surface of in the last several years, especially with the last 10 years of this philosophy, is research around all of the things that the world tells us we need to feel fulfilled. The research, the experience, trying those different things, seeing how little fulfillment they bring, but also oftentimes how much distraction they bring, how much disorientation they can bring. And ultimately, research around all of the things we do not need to live life and to live life well. All of the things that we do not need, by trying them on, by exhausting so many of our desires through experience and getting to a place around 40, maybe 45, maybe 55 for some. Maybe for some it was 25. But research around all the things that we do not need to feel fulfilled, satisfied, to feel peace. I know my research is, it's incalculable, the value of this philosophy in parallel to the research and experience of life. But a big aspect of this, a big example of this, is thinking from my 20s and my early 30s, thinking that it was through conquering that you'd find satisfaction and fulfillment. Through dominating the world. That's what startups, it's what we say in the startup world is, I want to build this company and we're going to dominate this sector. We're going to dominate the competition. And that's the kind of thing, at least speaking for myself, sent me to the ER to get my heart shocked back into rhythm because I was so drained, so stressed. Failure after failure after failure, leading to basically me throwing up my hands, being like, okay, well, however I'm trying is not working on any level. Even when we, by the skin of our teeth, were able to sell our last company to Airbnb, it was still like, that is not the way. That's a PhD in how not to do it. And this ego dissolution, not through a higher order of things, is really just through, okay, I really don't know, because I've been out here trying for 11, 12 years to build things, and none of them have panned out. All that was left were the two words. All that was left were the three words of, I do not know. And thankfully, cracks are where the light comes in. Thankfully, through that I do not know, I was open to something else. Instead of a pursuit of conquering, it was a pursuit of understanding how things really worked. What generated energy within me, what dissipated energy within me. So all of this research, ultimately to a place of surrender. Not some selfless surrender of body and mind and intellect. It was more of a just selfish, lower level version of, man, when I surrender to what people are asking of me, where I am needed or where I can be most useful, wow, it just works out. It feels really good. Surrender, as the concept goes within the 17th chapter of the Gita, surrender to a duty-bound existence and immediate peace follows. Maybe the research for many of us is not an imposition of our will, imposing our will on the world, but it is a growing sensitivity to what is being asked of us, and even more. That's invaluable in its own right, but even more powerfully, a growing sensitivity to what generates energy within us, to what generates peace within us, to what generates prosperity. And what I can tell you from my own experiences, being in that listening mode, listening to what people are asking of us, or guidance that they're providing us that prior versions of us just could not listen to. Exhausting experience, exhausting desires through experience to realize, oh, that's not it, that's not it, that's not it. Trying out these timeless concepts that 20-year-old me just thought there's no way that would provide satisfaction, fulfillment. It's all in imposing your will, climbing that mountain, planting a flag. Instead, trying out concepts that exist in nearly every major tradition throughout the world and have existed for thousands of years. Concept like, okay, let me surrender into this. I don't know where it's going to go, and I don't know if I'm going to get mine, but let me surrender into this. And then a wave just picks you up. And maybe in the beginning, it's just immediate peace. surrendering in, as Christ says, thy will and not my will, into a higher order of things. And it might just be your family, surrendering into your community, what they're asking of you. And you see it work. And you're like, oh, damn, this is actually how it works. And oh my God. To where you're like, oh, damn. This is what surfing a wave feels like instead of paddling your ass off and never catching anything. You just feel like you're gliding. And that peace within is better than any of the validation you might have been chasing, better than any of the status, financial milestones. That I would go to bed every night. Company that I was building in all three companies that I tried to build in my 20s. Scared, worried, feeling like we're 20 miles behind the 8 ball. The current company that I run now, it's tens of millions in revenue, and I don't think I've ever woken up in the middle of the night worried about it in 5 years. And I say it all the time, it just feels like we're on a wave. And it would not have been in the top 25 ideas I would have pursued if I was just choosing. And yet it was a process of, let me surrender into, I guess there's something here that people keep asking of me. Maybe I'll just see where it goes. It's remarkable. I cannot even try to state the difference in the experience. And what's funny is companies that I was building in my 20s, I remember sitting down at 25 with an idea, thinking about what is the biggest possible thing I can build. I remember literally thinking, what would be bigger than Facebook? God. What an insecure place to come from. What a selfish place to come from. How do I get the absolute most for me? And fast forward to nearly a decade and the PhD and how not to do it. Tried out the timeless PhD concepts of maybe it's through surrender, and haven't missed a minute of sleep in building this company in 5+ years. All of the research on the lives that we do not want to lead, taking us to a point where life can begin. Not just on the other side of 40 years, but on the other side of all of the research that points where life is not. And all of the research that points where life begins and life is. Life begins at 40. The rest is just research. Whether life has begun for you or you're in the midst of research, it is a comforting quote. And that is today's reflection on the Daily Vedantic. We'll see you next time.